Okay, good evening, everyone. It is 6 o'clock, so we're going to call this meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. We have a pretty packed house for such a questionable day with weather. At this time, I would like to call Pastor Hyatt Grissom to the podium to lead us in our invocation. Hyatt is the pastor of Coolmey Presbyterian Church and Bixby Presbyterian Church, and I'm just thrilled that he's here because where my Shining Stars Special Needs Community Choir meets is at Bixby, and he has already just been awesome to our choir members, and we appreciate him so much. And Vice Chair Schoaf would like to say something as well.
Yeah, if you get a chance to come out to either one of those places, I've been attending Hyatt's services now for several months. He does a good job, breaks things down really well, has a good grasp of theology. But I'd also like to throw this out mainly is that in this day and time where it's hard to find a preacher that'll even mow their own yard, that Hyatt actually has worked in a sawmill. I think that's right. Mm-hmm. He fixes my steel chainsaws. I think he fixes Husqvarnas. So give a little props to a preacher that could get some bar oil on their hand.
Thank you, Hyatt. Go ahead.
Giving a microphone to a pastor that's been out of the pulpit for 2 weeks is dangerous, but I won't keep you guys more than an hour. I just want to say before we pray, Presbyterians, and I'm very happy to be one, I have a long history of caring about government, caring about politics, and the things that go here. In fact, during the American Revolution, right before it, the governor of North Carolina, who was a loyalist, wanted to stay loyal to the crown, and he called Presbyterian churches slop houses of sedition. But what is done here is important work. It is important to have your voice heard. We believe that God has instituted government as a positive force and also a restraining force against some of our worst human nature at times. But with that in mind, let's pray. Father God, we thank you for this time that we could come and do important work together. And Father, we ask that you be with us and guide us, give us open minds and open hearts to hear what is being said and what others have to say, to be open to hearing other perspectives. Father, we ask that you give us grace and peace as we go through this process tonight, and that everything that be done align with your will. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Now I would like to call our Fire Marshal, Cameron Webb, up to the podium to lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Vogler will now state our ethics and conflicts disclosure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160A-86 and the Davie County Board of Commissioners Code of Ethics adopted December 2019, I would ask each of you before you adopt the agenda if there's any actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest with respect to any matter on the proposed agenda which comes before the board tonight for a vote. If so, please speak up now and let the board know at this time before the agenda is adopted. Seeing no one speak up, I would conclude there's no actual, potential, or perceived conflicts of interest by any board member.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we adopt the agenda, I would like to say we are going to take item G under the consent agenda and move it under old business, so it will become 10A. And we will also be removing the closed session item for tonight. So that being said, I need a motion to approve those changes.
So moved.
First, second. All those in favor? And then a motion to adopt the agenda after the changes were made.
Motion.
Commissioner Reniger? Commissioner Jones? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to our public comment period. Mr. Vogler.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. This is the time in which we have the public comment. Each person desiring to speak during the public comment section has already signed up on the sign-up sheet. When you come to the podium, though, if you would state your name again, so that it'll come in, go into the microphone and then into the minutes that's being recorded. Just identify yourself. Each person's allowed 3 minutes. There'll be a timer you'll see on the screen. And then we just ask that you stop it after your 3 minutes is up. You're to address the board as a whole, not ask any verbal exchanges back and forth between the board and yourself. And topics which would normally be closed session items, including but not limited to attorney-client privilege, anticipation of pending lawsuits, personnel matters, property acquisitions, and things like that are not permitted as topics for public comment. You to make your presentation from the podium itself and not come forward to the board, and any applauses need to be held until the end of any public comment section. There's a total of 30 minutes allowed for public comment under our local rules, and that leaves 10 people the opportunity. If there was more than 10 people signed up, those people would be carried over to the following month. We've only got 7 that's signed up, so I'm going to call your name, and as I call your name, if you'll come to the podium, and again, state your name, please. First of all, we have Tony Scarlett, Davie First Responders.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Chairman. Hope y'all are having a wonderful evening. So I just wanted to address the board on my recent experience with our first responders out there. Unfortunately, I was on the need end of the services that we provide our citizens. Had an unfortunate medical emergency and needed to be transported to the hospital last week, where I spent 5 days with the good folks over at Davie Medical Center. Great doctors, great nurses, the wonderful folks over there. But I felt compelled to actually come and speak of my experience, because I've never had to utilize our services before in the county, and found that I needed to call 911. That telecommunicator on the end was professional, highly trained, very responsive, very clear, and knew how to get the ball rolling. So it was moments before EMS was on their way to my home. So I would like to actually say kudos to Rodney for his folks. I feel that well-trained folks are really a reflection on their leadership. EMS folks showed up at my house in no time at all. I couldn't have made it out to my car. There's no way. These folks worked like a well-oiled machine. The way that they interacted with one another without even speaking. They knew what they were doing before they even knew they were going to be doing it. It was amazing to me to watch. Even though I was quite out of it at the moment, it piqued my interest. I was literally watching this. Those folks were, again, they were highly trained. They were highly professional. They knew exactly what to do, exactly the questions to ask, and the moves to make to get me to where I needed to be. And I'm thankful to those folks. Thank you, Joseph. Please send my kudos to your folks, because I am here today in no large part because of those folks' professional work. And for the citizens of Davie County, we're very fortunate to have these folks, these first responders, whether they're fire, whether they're EMS, whether they're 911, whether they're the sheriff's office, whether the fire marshal's office, or emergency management. These are the folks that you want to show up when life goes sideways. These are great folks. They are awesome, and they deserve all of the kudos that they can get. So thank you. Thank your board.
Tony, thank you so much, and we are very grateful that you are okay.
Next, we've got William Vaughn on planning and stormwater.
Madam Chair, fellow commissioners, good evening. At the January 5th meeting of this board, you addressed concerns with the proposed Lake Myers development. Several speakers addressed concerns, all of which were valid. Their concerns come down to one root cause. the lack of adequate regulatory guidance with which to mediate development. You have attempted to provide some guidance and address design parameters associated with various sizes of residential development, but the guidance is hobbled. It does not incorporate the necessary underlying regulatory context. In this case, and concomitantly for commercial and industrial applications, the county does not have stormwater control regulations. I have mentioned this fact for several years via its numerous means, but the county has not taken any action. Specifically, and to address the obfuscations of the developer, erosion and sediment control regulated by the state is but one part of the process, a part that terminates once site stabilization is complete and the permit is closed. This has become manifest in other areas of the county. You have received complaints from downstream recipients of runoff from development, and the other leg is under the purview of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, things such as 404 section permitting. Without a complementary stormwater from the county ordinance, you allow carte blanche development in favor of developers over citizens and the potential detrimental impacts of unchecked development. In the Lake Myers proposal, for example, the complete lack of stormwater controls creates severe impacts on the lake. Good engineering practices regulated by ordinance means that post-construction runoff does not exceed pre-construction runoff. Control measures mean less footprint and profit margin for developers, but are necessary. In fact, the use of existing drainage features in lieu of new best management practices is normally not allowed. Also, with regulations, the long-term maintenance of stormwater controls are mandated, for example, by HOAs, assuring that impacts are continuously mitigated. You have put the cart in front of the horse. The following needs to happen: an abeyance on site approvals until an adequate stormwater ordinance is in place. The North Carolina School of Government has a model ordinance for guidance that you can use. The county hire a county engineer, a licensed professional engineer with applicable experience, to coordinate ordinance requirements with other county departments, for example, the planning process for the benefit of all. This new staff position will also ameliorate other issues within the county organization chart, such as the lack of professional engineer supervision in areas such as code enforcement and building inspections, a topic for later discussion. As an aside, you are in peril anyway regarding stormwater regulations. Due to the proximity with Forsyth County, Advance or Boone Run, areas that are characteristically very similar to those just east of the river, will most likely in the future have MS4 stormwater regulations imposed by the state, and action allowed due to the contiguous nature of the locations. If you do not implement your own ordinance, controls will be imposed on you by others. Developers are very aware of your lack of regulatory control for stormwater management and will take full advantage of the fact to maximize their profits at the expense of the citizenry. Ma'am, permission to provide a copy to the clerk?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Next, we have Jim Myers on Myers subdivision.
Hadn't started yet. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time that you put into the county. And thank you for those that showed up tonight. I'll be brief. I don't have a whole lot to say other than I found out this week that a Plan B has been submitted by the developer of the Lake Myers subdivision, and they've broken it into 3 separate subdivisions, 2 60-lot subdivisions, 1 40-lot subdivision. Because of that, I'm hurt. I'm even more, because they will not take care of this farm the way it needs to be taken care of. Part of the problem is the easement access to my dad's mausoleum at the head of the lake only allows for a 20-foot wide easement, which is standard. I understand that. But the easement is also 250 feet, which is the length of a lot. So it doesn't give me really access to that mausoleum. You have to cross over a wetland to get to it, and then cross a causeway to get onto the island. So we need to make sure that this is taken care of one way or the other. But the other thing I want to say to you, breaking this farm into 3 separate subdivisions and no HOA. I found out there's no HOA involved with each of the 3 subdivisions. The residents can run rampant on how they actually take care of their property. So we need to make sure that we do the right thing. I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm not trying to sway your vote. I'm just saying you need to look at all things. Look at the overall 161 lot subdivision versus the 3, the 60, 60, and 40, to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Thank you.
Next is Dean Allen, again on the Myers subdivision.
Say, my name is Dean Allen. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Brother Pastor, thank you for your beautiful prayer you lifted up. I'm not going to preach you a sermon, but I am going to tell you a story that relates to what I'm going to try to get to. When Joshua led the Israelite people across the Jordan, he told the people, he called them together, and he said, choose you this day who you want to serve. Are you going to serve the gods that your forefathers did on the other side? Or are you going to serve God who delivered you here to the promised land? He said, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. You're all familiar with that story, I'm sure. As a voter, when I vote for people, whether it be commissioner, in this particular instance it is, I vote for you to be my voice. What do I feel as a voter? You know, not what somebody else feels outside the county. You know, I'm representative because I live in this county. I live in this county. I worked in this county. I know we have a lot of people in this county. Point is, you know, search, put yourself in the position of these people here tonight. You know, what is best for this county? Am I going to represent the people here and the rest of the voters in the county, or am I going to represent another interest from somewhere else, you know? And that's, you know, like I said, I figure that, you know, as I said, my voice is up to you. You know, you are my voice in government, you know. When I vote, and I'm thankful for that privilege, it don't always work out, but nevertheless, you know, you are my voice here on a lesser level, more or less. So I just simply say, you know, search your hearts. Look around and look at your voters, look at your elected officials, you know. What's best? You know, are we going to serve Davie, or are we going to serve something else? Thank you. I still love you all, everybody, very much.
Next, we got Gary Stovall. Style. Oh, actually, when it was translated, transferred over, it's just STOW.
Yeah, I'm Gary Stowers. They call me Chubby.
Okay.
What I'm going to talk about is, here we go again. This man come up here and blowed smoke on everybody because he wanted 3 developments anyway. He didn't want that one big development. He just blowed smoke, and we got caught with the smoke. Thank you for the EMTs. Y'all good people. You do a great job. You saved many lives. You even saved mine once because I got hit by a car coming out my own driveway on 64, right where we're going to have all this congestion. But my biggest concern is environmental. And since I made my money off of citizens of Davie County, I'm hiring an environmental lawyer from Raleigh to go through this because this is just aggravating. Because the man don't want to adhere to our clean water. He's going to take our money and run. And so, let the fights begin. God bless us all. Thank every one of you. Y'all have a good evening.
Next we have is Kevin Boger, again, Meyer Subdivision.
Good evening, Board. Thank you again for letting us come and speak and taking your time to hear the concerns of the citizens of this county. I'm not going to rehash some of the things I said last month, and we're going to do our best to continue in this fight month to month as best we can. Come see you guys. But, you know, at the end of the day, the last time I spoke less about the issue behind my house and more about this county and our county as a whole. I realize that when I draw my last breath, it's not going to matter how many houses are behind my house. What's going to matter is what I've done with Jesus. And that goes for all of us. And I'm thankful to say I know where I'm going, and I hope you all do as well. But I'm more concerned about the county that I live in for my kids when I do draw my last breath. What are they going to have? The 98% of the rural county are that we're told not feeling a lot rural these days. Not feeling that way. Again, I'd like to say that I feel like you guys need more power. I hate using that word in the government sense because that's a scary thought. But you need to make these ordinances as strict and as hard as possible to get folks like Mr. Garrett and this Cecil character out of our county. People are tired. They're tired of seeing these subdivisions pop up everywhere. Again, I'll say we can't handle it as far as a infrastructure, as far as the EMS and our sheriff's department. That they've already been talked about the EMS tonight, and I am thankful for those guys as well. They cannot handle the influx of people coming in, nor are we happy that these folks are coming. I'm going to encourage you to continue. I hear some whispers that you know that might be some thoughts that may be coming down the pike that maybe does give you guys some more power. And personally, I am for that. But we've got to do something to get these people. They're just poaching our property for personal gain, and we need to do something to get them out. Okay. I'm thankful for the opportunities that I have and lived in this county my whole life. And before my 12 seconds is up, the last thing, this is a side note, my monthly home payment went up $160 because we pay escrow, and that would be because the property taxes that have gone way up. So thank you for your time again. Y'all have a good night. I'm glad everybody was safe in the snow, and we appreciate everything that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Jennifer Boger, again, Myers subdivision.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Boger. I just want to thank you for the time and the opportunity to speak again. I don't have notes this time. I'm a little nervous, but I'm just going to try to go off what's on my heart and what I've been dealt with. As far as the Myers Landing, the first thing I have is I do have some petitions that have been signed. If I have permission to present those to you.
I've already been given some as well, Jennifer.
And we do have about 100 more petitions from Lake Myers that have not been given to us yet, but once I receive that, I will bring them to you as well. Our area is not for this development at all. We don't support it at all. I've tried to do my part. I have called commissioners. I have called DEQ. I've spoken to 3 different people at DEQ, and they all say, there's nothing we can do. We won't address it till the time comes, once the development starts. Talk to your county commissioners. My husband, he forgot to mention, but he reached out to Julia Howard and tried to reach out to her and get help, and her response was, reach out to your county commissioners. Everywhere we turn, we're told to reach out to y'all. So we're asking y'all for help. DEQ did tell me that if runoff comes, we know the lay of the land goes down. It will come towards our land. It will come towards my neighbor's land. We will have runoff. My well more than likely will be contaminated. Lake Myers will be contaminated. There is nothing they will do. You know what he told me to do? Hire a lawyer. So my question is, how are your everyday people that are middle class, we work, we raise a family, how can I afford a lawyer to go against a deep pocket developer? So when we continue to let these developers come into our county, they're ruining our lands, they're destroying the lands around them, and our hands are tied and we have nothing to do. So I'm asking y'all, where can I go to get help when I do experience runoff? Because DEQ told me they will not help. When my well does get contaminated, you know, that gentleman that spoke a month ago, his land is being destroyed and he's gotten no help. And I can't afford to put thousands and thousands of dollars to fix all these problems just because this developer wants to come in and put all these houses just to make his income better. Also, as my husband said, our house payment went up $160 a month because taxes went up. I understand there are times taxes have to go up, but 161 homes, that isn't going to bring in tax revenue. It's going to hurt us because we're going to need more firefighters to get there, more EMS. They do a fabulous job, and I am thankful for what they do, but we cannot keep putting a strain on them. They're already strained enough. I mean, I was told by a gentleman that works at County Line that unfortunately sometimes they have to run a lot of calls for Center because Center's all volunteer, and volunteer firefighters have full-time jobs. So they can't always be there when we need them. So we can't keep putting the strain on our help in our county. And so I'm just asking y'all, we've got to do something, and I'm not gonna give up this fight. I don't want this development, and I'm gonna stand as long as I have to fight against it. Thank you.
And that's the last sign up for public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Vogler. Thank all of you for being here. I think Commissioner Jones has something.
I want to respond, not to you guys specifically. I'm all of us here, Mr. Vaughn, I appreciate what you said. I'd like to hear it in layman's language. I am sick of this. I'm sick of it. We're playing, and I'm not running for re-election. In 3 years, I'm not running for re-election. This is it for me. But I am tired of this. I'm tired of playing whack-a-mole with developers. If every time we make a move with an ordinance that we think might help, lo and behold, here comes 3 or 4 that are trying to get around the ordinance. We have got to do something. I don't care if it's addressing stormwater. I really don't. I'm telling our planning board, I am tired of this, and I'm not blaming y'all. But this is really frustrating. You know, we believe in property rights. We believe in the rights of people to control the use of their property, but we also believe in neighbors' rights. And I will tell you, I think when we've all run here probably in the last 10 years, it has been made clear to us by the citizens of Davie County that enough is enough, in terms of residential development. It does not pay for itself. You made that, Ms. Boger, very clear, and anybody that knows anything about infrastructure, schools, law enforcement will tell you it doesn't. And so I just say to the planning board, I say to the county manager, we have got to come forward with something that is that doesn't mean next month we have to respond with something else. It's just not right. And I don't believe it's real world. This is just, and I'm sorry, but this is just, it's just getting unbelievable. And the facts about the issue of the runoff on your property have been brought up to us. We've made contact with DEQ. Nothing can be done. It's all response. We ask, have they done an environmental study? Have they done a traffic study? Well, their answer to that in this instance was, well, we'll just go to Plan B. We won't address the environment. We won't address the traffic. We'll just go to Plan B so we can get around the ordinance again. So please, guys, understand there ain't a soul up here on this dais, elected official, that is trying to have this kind of stuff happen to our community. I hate to be like that. I hate to be like this. But it is time we do something to protect the rural nature of this county. And thank you.
Yeah, this has been laid on my heart as far as this goes. I mean, I ran on development. I didn't want to trample on property rights of owners, but I have a hard time when so often the property right, we're not talking about you guys out here coming to develop your property. You're talking about people 2 and 3 transactions away, and somebody that becomes, I call them the pivot man, that's sitting there to monetize it. Not the developer even, the pivot man. That doesn't mean they're bad people, but I'm tired of us feeling like we're hostage to development, or the rhetoric we hear from development, or the rhetoric we hear about, well, it'll help you with sales tax. It'll help you with this. I made a comment the other day because I'm a numbers nerd, and $100 million worth of real estate or of property will only generate $680-some thousand. We've got industry in this county that pays nearly $1 million. And you may not want industry everywhere. And this is not what I'm going down this mole hole, so to speak. But if anybody, to Ms. Boger's point, residential does not pay for itself. So you would think bringing in houses would make people's taxes go down, but I've not found any evidence of that myself. The only reason our taxes haven't gone up even more is because we've brought in a decent amount of economic development over the last 25 years or whatever. So you can't sales tax your way to prosperity, and you can't residential yourself to prosperity. And the next thing you know, there's going to be an area that grows enough that we're going to have to build an elementary school. And if we build another elementary school, I don't think $680-some thousand is going to do it, or even $1.5 million is going to do it. And I'm kind of like Mark here. This is not a performance. I'm so sick. I think the biggest thing I want people out here to know is that nobody on this board wants. I even told Mr. Garrett, and I'm not going to demonize him. He's trying to do something. But I will say, I don't want the development. Why would I want the development? Why do we have to have the development? There's nothing backward about wanting to be a county that celebrates its rural heritage. I'm tired of having the progressive mindset try to tell us that we're not smart enough to control our own destiny. If we didn't grow one bit, we're not going to dry it and blow away. We're not northeast North Carolina. We're not southeast North Carolina. We're not far western North Carolina. We don't have to. We could set pat for 20 years and we're not going to dry it and blow away. We got an interstate that bisects the county of 264 square miles. We're fine. We could hit the pause button. We'd be fine. So what I'm kind of saying to you as an audience and everybody else listening, this is why if you think we're going to take reactionary measures, sometimes there's the old physics adage, well, we're getting ready to have a equal and opposite reaction. And it's going to be a pretty strict equal and opposite reaction. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for being here and sharing your passion. I always appreciate public comment, but especially during this time and the things that you're sharing and sharing your heart. And Bill, we always appreciate your expertise that you share with us. And we'll talk about this more a little bit further in the meeting. So, okay, we're going to move on to the public hearing. Mr. Barnett.
I think Mr. Vogler will go over the rules first.
Okay.
During the public comment section of the public hearings, which will be done after there has been a presentation made by the individuals that are looking at the various things. Those public comments, again, we would ask each one of you to state your full name for the recording, and then go ahead and comment either for or against the proposed changes in that particular public comment. There is no time limit on this as there is on public comments during a public hearing. So, again, it's not for the purposes of attacking anyone, it's for the purposes of spelling out your position on why you should or shouldn't, or why the board should or shouldn't do something. And we just asked everyone to be respectful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, so tonight I'm going to be presenting some proposed subdivision changes about the approval process, what we currently have. So there's three things that we really need to consider tonight, and these are the three areas. These come directly out of the subdivision ordinance as well as the zoning ordinance. So the first one is Chapter 154 in definitions. The next is going to be Chapter 155, 125 in the table of use districts. And also with that, Chapter 155, 151 in the zoning ordinance, which is the special purpose district. So currently, the way this works is we will go in, what I'm asking to do is we're going to define. So the way the zoning ordinance works is we have a specific definition. So that definition is an intended use throughout the county. So in that definition, in the table of uses, it shows specifically what zoning districts that individual use can be. And also with that, we're going to detail what special conditions are for the use of that. So in essence, for example, we have a definition of what a single-family dwelling is. Single-family dwelling is defined. Single-family dwelling is shown in the table of use district where it can be used, and then any conditions with that are in that district. So what we're asking for too is I'm just using this as a placeholder, okay? This is just an example. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to define subdivisions, where major subdivisions can go. So what I'm using in this is we would define specifically in the subdivision ordinance a Class 5 major subdivision. So that's going to be defined as all lots in a subdivision containing 61 or more lots. Okay, so we would define that in the subdivision ordinance. So we would reference it in the table of use districts. So as you see here, so in the look at the table of use districts, we have a Class 5 major subdivision. As you can see, the only permitted use is in the special purpose district. We define it in the subdivision ordinance, we carry it over, and we would reference it back to the subdivision ordinance in the zoning ordinance. So it's a Class 5 major subdivision ordinance. So in that special purpose zoning district, it's got specific conditions to be able to have the approval process. This is what's currently in there. The special purpose district is to establish to accommodate uses that may constitute health or safety hazards, have a greater than average impact on environmental, aesthetics, community identity, viewshed, or diminish the use and enjoyment of nearby property by generation of noise, smoke, fumes, odors, glares, vibration, commercial vehicle traffic, or other similar nuisances. So this is currently in here. So the dimensions requirements, these are already in the zoning ordinance, so we've kind of exempted Class 5 subdivisions off of the dimensional requirements because subdivisions stand alone. So these are the things, but what I really want to draw your attention to is the approval process. So with this, in order to get this, you would have to go through community meetings. So as it currently stands, this is what it stands. The applicant shall submit and organize and conduct a community meeting with the surrounding property owners at a minimum of 30 days prior to the scheduled planning board meeting date. The petitioner must file in the office of the clerk of court a written report of any community meeting held by the petitioner. The report shall include, among the other things, a list of those persons and organizations contacted about the meeting and the manner and date of contact, the time, the date, the location of the meeting, the rosters of the person in attendance at the meeting, the summary of issues discussed at a meeting, and the description of any changes to the rezoning petition made by the petitioner as a result of the meeting. A second community meeting shall be arranged by the applicant following the planning board meeting and notes submitted to the planning department at least 15 days prior to the regular Board of Commissioners meeting. So in essence, what this is proposed is what we're doing is the placeholder I used was the Class 5 subdivision. So in essence, if an applicant comes in and submits a Class 5 subdivision to us, then they would have to hold 2 meetings. They would have to apply for a rezoning. They would have to have a meeting, a public community meeting. They would have the planning board meeting. They would have to have another meeting, and ultimately the decision whether or not that this subdivision, Class 5 subdivision, could be approved. The ultimately approval would have to be through the Board of County Commissioners. Okay, so this is what I'm proposing. So tonight, what I'm asking for areas of action is the definitions, because we're going to ask what definition, and we're going to ask anything in the special purpose district. So action number one, what I'm asking this board to do, is what number of subdivision lots, major subdivision lots, to trigger the approval process. So is there a specific number that this board would like to see for major subdivisions to trigger the approval process?
And currently, under our statute, anything above 3 lots is considered a major subdivision by definition.
Got you. Right here. Next slide. I was going to get to that. Ed, sorry about that. Major subdivisions. This is currently defined in the subdivision ordinance. A major subdivision is defined as all subdivisions containing 3 or more lots is a major subdivision.
So that the trigger then would be anything above 3 lots, if we approve that within the context of your the ordinance, would have to come to us for approval.
Well, what I'm asking is, so that's the definition of a major subdivision. So currently, what I'm asking is what number of lots in a major subdivision. So currently, a major subdivision is defined as all subdivisions containing 3 or more lots.
Right.
Okay, so the major subdivisions, we have individual classes that we approved. So there's the Class 1 subdivision, which is 10 lots or less. That's Class 1. Okay, Class 2
Up to
is
61 lots.
well, we've got Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4, and Class 5. Yeah. So these are just the individual classes, and the larger the subdivision, the more specific requirements that the developer has to meet. But what I'm asking for, is what this board to trigger the action, is what number of lots in a subdivision do we want the applicant to go through this approval process? Is that number a major is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 105? What is that specific number?
The special, the conditional approval.
Yes, sir. So currently, all subdivisions in RA, R20, R8, R12, and RM are approved by right. There is no special permitting process. If you meet the requirements, you're approved. What we're doing with this is we're asking the developer, if he comes to us, for example, and this is the example that I used, was the Class 5. So a developer comes to me with a Class 5 subdivision, they would have to have approval of this board. In essence, it's a rezoning. If you want to get it down to it, we post it, we send letters, we have a planning board meeting, the planning board makes the documentation, it goes to this commissioner, so in essence, it is a rezoning of the property to do the major subdivision.
In other words, this board would have to approve any major subdivisions by whatever definition you use. And if you say 3 or more lots, then anything with 3 or more lots would come to this board. If you say 10 lots, anything with 10 or more would come to this board, or whatever number y'all decide on.
And then we would address them within the context of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. So this is just so they would still have to meet the requirements, the context, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if a class, yes.
Basically doing away by right.
Correct.
Zoning.
Correct.
Basically, that's what we're talking about.
And this is something that I really, really want to stress, and I didn't include it in here. So the family subdivision is exempt from this ordinance, okay? So if an individual has parcels of property that they want to subdivide to give to, and it has to be blood relatives, and that's spelled out in the subdivision ordinance, this would be exempt. That is currently exempt. Okay, there's exempt subdivisions from this. And a minor subdivision. So you have a piece of property, you want to subdivide it, you want to make 2 lots out of it, that's exempt. Okay, that would not go through this. That's the major subdivision. But whatever number that this board sees fit, that's the number that That's what the definition, that's what I'm asking for.
In addition to your question, you would still, if you still kept the class system, they would have to meet the class requirements. But unlike the current ordinance reads, if you meet the class requirements, it's a right by use. So even if they meet all the requirements of the class system and there is a majority reason amongst you all not to rezone it, you could not rezone it.
Does anybody have an idea? I'll just be honest with you, I would like all subdivisions to come to us for these, requirements at this time. And I also want us to consider which sizes would need to be, sent notices out to the neighbors, so.
Mr. Easter, the class 3, the break on that's 26 to 40?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Renier, it's class 3 subdivisions defined as 26 to 40 lots. So class 1 is 10 or less, class 2 is 11 to 25, class 3 is 26 to 40, and then class, well, did I skip one? Class, okay, I'm sorry. I copied, I got the wrong one. So anyway, I'm sorry, class 4 is 41 to 60, and then class 5 is 61 plus.
In the family designation, what's the maximum number of lots within that?
Normally we see about 5, 4 or 5, yeah. And individual, when that's recorded, they have to put the individual property and who's receiving the individual, have to put the name on the plat before it's recorded. And it's the licensed surveyor stamps it as a family exempt subdivision, references our subdivision ordinance and allows them to do that.
But you say 5, but actually, if I've got 7 children.
You could do 7.
And
Yeah,
I've
there's
got-
really, it's not, normally we see that, I mean, we don't have a whole heck of a lot that are doing that, but normally I would say about 5 is normally what we see, but there can be more than that. Yes, sir.
Anything else, Mr. Easter?
Is there anything in here that addresses, say somebody wants to do a 25-acre lot to keep it below the next level of scrutiny, if they design their streets or whatever so that later that subdivision can be added to? Is there anything in there or any way that you can demand that it moves up to the next level?
Phase 1, normally what we see, we're not currently addressing that. When they're submitted to us, every lot has to be on the plat, okay? So if they do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, normally what we see, sometimes we'll see the totality of the subdivision, and they'll record phase 1, they'll record phase 2, they'll record phase 3, because a part of the approval process is we're looking at NCDOT approval for the roads in there. So they'll go ahead and have all the roads laid out initially, they'll get approval for the roads, and they'll include that in there. But if they do a subdivision, we currently have subdivisions that have been in Davie County for 30 years plus that have deadheads in the road that are just there, and then the developer sells the neighboring property owner, and they come and develop the property attached to it. So we have had some discussions we had Friday, we had a planning board meeting to address the large parcel of land, subdividing it over time. So there is a way through the subdivision ordinance, and Ed and I and Mr. Barnett are going to sit down and discuss that, how we can address that currently in the ordinance to as opposed to, well, you know, the 500-acre 500-acre lot subdivision, I'm going to do individual little ones to negate the spirit of the ordinance. That's going to be addressed. Right now, currently, we're just looking at this, but Commissioner Poindexter, we will be addressing that.
We're basically looking at a stopgap measure right now and all to try to get control back to this board on subdivisions. And then we're going to look at the subdivision regulations It's not actually, it's part of the ordinance, but it's called subdivision regulations. And we're also going to look at the zoning ordinance and try to look at several things, and that'll be one of them. And of if I've got 160 acres, I can't break it up into 3 separate subdivisions. And then come back with less than what it should have been in the first place. But a lot of different things like that we're going to look at.
So this
Back
is
to this board.
It's a temporary measure. And then what's your timeline on the things that Ed's talking about here?
Well, just the individual to address for negating the spirit for the classes, to bypass the classes, should be next, working on a draft right now, so it should be, next commissioners meeting, next planning board meeting.
Well, you know what? We're taking care of the mom and pops. Okay, it sounds like we're taking
That's
care
currently in the ordinance. We're not addressing those. We're not touching those.
We're taking care of them. I'm flexible, but I'm good with 0, but I would max out at 10 until we can get this thing taken care of. That's.
I would originally suggested a reasonably higher number, but upon further thought, at least while we're getting the things that Johnny has mentioned and was mentioned in the planning board meeting the other day, I don't see a problem if we just set it at 3 for right now, just because we don't want the unintended consequence of a 150-acre tract gets submitted as 6 or let me say 5, probably more realistically, 5 20-house subdivisions, and that could happen. So we don't want that unintended whack-a-mole thing that Mark was talking about a while ago. I don't think that's where we want to land, but as long as we've got leeway for somebody to come in over the next 2 months as this is getting hammered out and proposing 5, 6, whatever, if they sitting on a track like that. I mean, it's kind of like we don't want 160 house subdivisions, but we also don't want 425 house subdivisions. It's all, it's which is better, So I don't know. So I think, it's kind of like, we're having to come up and try to outthink what we paralysis with analysis. We just need to do it for right now, and we don't need to apologize for it. As long as we don't abuse, as somebody said a while ago, you need more power. But with power comes great responsibility. I think that's what the saying says. We don't need to abuse that and drag somebody through it. But we also don't need to get an end around pulled either. Thank you.
Well, and I think Mr. Allen pointed out a good point there. We need to be listening to the citizens of this county and not the people who live outside this county. And I'll just share with you all what I shared with the planning board on Friday. I think it is time for us to take drastic measures because we're dealing with a different category of developers. We are used to having developers and builders in this county who took pride in their work, and they wanted to stand back and see something that made them proud and that people were proud to own. And now, unfortunately, we're dealing with people who are just in here to see how many dollars they can make and then leave us. So we need to make some changes in how we allow things to be done. And just for your information, for those of y'all who don't know, the matters that were brought before the planning board on Friday, they deferred. So they did not make any recommendations to us at all.
So what you're asking us basically for here is some kind of moratorium until we can get...
We can't do a moratorium.
We can't do a moratorium. General Assembly's taking that rights away from the counties.
No, I'm not asking, what I'm asking for, not a moratorium. I'm just asking for, with all of the, discussions about permitted by right, I'm asking for what number of lots in a major subdivision will trigger a special rezoning that this board will have to approval. So what is that
Ma'am.
number of lots in a major subdivision?
Got it.
That's action number one, and I've got another one.
Okay, got it. I think Brent had a number, and Madam Chairman, I'm not jumping ahead of you, but I'm just saying, have we gone into the public hearing yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, all right. So we're not at a point where we're ready to.
Correct.
You gonna do your
Yeah, I'm
second one
going to
first?
action number
Okay,
one.
Go
If there's
ahead.
any more questions about this. So action number two, what I'm asking for this board to decide, action number two, subdivision approval process. So as we talked about earlier about the process of the public hearings and the way the public hearing works, based upon some of the feedback that I received from the planning board meeting, this is kind of what I've come up with to propose. Community meetings, and keep in mind, Class 5 subdivisions is just a placeholder. Community meetings for Class 5 subdivisions. The applicant shall organize and conduct 2 community meetings with the surrounding property owners with a 500-foot radius at a minimum of 30 days prior to the scheduled planning board meeting date. The meetings shall be held at least 14 days apart. The petitioner must file in the office of the clerk a written report of community meetings held by the petitioner. The organizer shall include, among other things, a list of persons, the organization contacted about the meetings and the manner of the date of the contact, the time, the location of the meeting, a roster of the persons in attendance at the meetings, a summary of issues discussed at the meetings, and a description of any changes to the rezoning petition made by the petitioner as a result of the meetings. So what we're saying is that 30 days prior to the planning board meeting, the developer will have one meeting, and then they have to have another meeting, and they have to notify everybody all property owners within a 500-foot radius of the proposed property prior to the planning board meeting. So as it currently sits in there, they have a meeting. It just says they have to notify surrounding property owners. They have a meeting. Then we have the planning board meeting, then they have another meeting, then they have a commissioners meeting. So the 2 meetings will be held prior to the planning board meeting, so that way they're notified, then the planning board meeting, then the commissioners meeting. Also with this, we're addressing who gets notified. So property owners within a 500-foot radius of the property. That's currently what we notify for rezonings. So we would put the onus on this as it currently stands in the ordinance itself, in the verbiage in the ordinance. It doesn't say, it just says the applicant shall organize and conduct a community meeting with the surrounding property owners. It doesn't define who surrounding property owners are. So with this, we've included to add people within a 500-foot radius to kind of mirror what we are currently doing for all rezonings.
So questions would be, are you okay with that 500-foot radius, or do you think it needs to be further? And in reference to the meetings, I know on Friday there was some discussion that one should be daytime and one should be evening in order to make sure that there's a time period for all neighbors to attend. So that's something to be considered as well.
My question about the 500-foot radius, give a practical example where I live. If I only include 500 feet, I probably only get about 4 or 5 owners. Mm-hmm. So that is of some concern to me. I don't want to beat it to death, but I'm thinking, well, I've got more than that. It's these little, but after I get that one little bit, those people don't care. I've got about 4 or 5 owners that would care in my case, 500 feet. In the case up here of Lake Myers, you've got people that have joined that larger tract, but you can go out here you can go out there and find areas where there's nobody. There's essentially about 5 or 6 of us that own about 96 acres up where I live. So it doesn't take, 500 feet's not a ton. I don't know if it needs to be based on that or if it needs to be based on contiguous ownership or the second layer of ownership. I don't want to complicate it, but I think that if you live right beside of something, you may be the next person over, and that layer of people probably have some interest too. So just throw that out there.
Well, I'll also add real quick, anytime we do a rezoning, you'll get the big zoning sign sitting out front. So I I believe the minimum we have to do is the adjoining properties. And obviously, in this case, we recognize, in this one particular example, if you limit yourself to just adjoining properties, you have fewer people than are sitting right here. But 500 feet is kind of the rule we've kind of implemented on all rezonings. You know, the key purpose of this particular provision is to eliminate the possibility of people not knowing. You know, we want, on a rezoning, we want everyone who may be affected, whether they're directly neighbor or across the street or down the road, to have an opportunity to be aware, not have to come stand before you and say, I did not know until I saw the septic stakes in the ground. So, you know, yes, you can adjust that distance, obviously. Any change to the ordinance, we're going through the process right now of doing that. But ultimately, the spirit of this is to make sure we notify as many people around the particular property as possible.
Anyone else?
And you're not amending the ordinance itself from the standpoint of what normally is required on a regular rezoning. This is something that would be a requirement that the petitioner make, or the petitioner does, on this special purpose type of rezoning, not just on rezoning in general.
Yeah, more?
That's it. Those are two things, just two simple questions tonight we have to answer.
Okay. So do you all only want these requirements on Class V, or do you want, or Class 5, or do you want, on other categories as well?
I think Johnny was using Class 5, just an example. He could have used Class X for that
That's
example.
just a filler.
But it could
is
be all five. It could
100%.
be
I'm
all
not-
five of the classes,
This is just place
or any portion of those classes.
Correct. I'm not recommending that. That is just a placeholder.
and you can pick, or you can ultimately end up on any number, regardless of what class that number sits in. The class just dictates what requirements on top of the rezoning they'll have to submit to. So, you know, the first class being up to 10, if you wanted to do 3, it still would be a Class 1, but anything 3 or more would trigger the rezoning process.
Okay.
And a
Conditional special permit.
special permit, yeah.
Okay. Want to open the public hearing?
Yeah. You through? Chair has announced this is the day and the hour of the public hearing pursuant to North Carolina Chapter 160D of the General Statutes, and also Chapter 154 of the Code of Ordinance, and also Chapter 155 of the Code of Ordinance for amendments on subdivision regulations and zoning requirements. There has been due notice given pursuant to the requirements of North Carolina General Statutes, Davie County Code of Ordinance, by way of publication of a notice in a local newspaper in general circulation in Davie County. The clerk has attached a copy of that affidavit to your minutes. I would ask all who wish to comment at this public hearing, come forward to the podium, state your name for the board, and then comment on the proposal. And we have one that has signed up, but that does not preclude others. And we got Jody Everett on zoning text, special use.
One clarifying question, the 25, is the 25 acre, is that a requirement for all of this? That was in the text.
That was, and if you read it,
Okay.
I exempted it. So the purpose of that is for, in this special zoning district,
Okay.
it includes like incinerators.
Okay,
There's
it wouldn't,
tons of
the
stuff.
25.
No.
So they couldn't.
And you need to
slide
speak
under.
up loud
I
enough so
exempted
that
that from
it can be
that.
picked
It's
up.
clearly exempted.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was
All
just
right.
clarifying,
Yeah.
Mr. Everett. Sorry.
All right, Jody Everett, I think everybody pretty well knows me. I'm not here tonight to tear anybody down. So I did participate in the planning board meeting last week. I want to commend Mr. Easter. I know I've been very openly critical of Mr. Easter, a lot of this board. I think this is a very positive step to get this back into the commissioner's hands. The one thing that I will state, it's going to require backbone though, right? Just because it's going to move that responsibility back to your guys' hands. There's a lot of discussion in the planning board meeting about the number of meetings and that sort of stuff. And at the end of the day, so what? If you get a board that's for development,
they can have 2 meetings and listen to everybody bitch and moan and still approve it anyway. So there's no requirement there. I think I've heard a lot of my concerns already sort of addressed here. The 61 houses that were stated there. My encouragement for you guys as a board would set that number absolutely as low as possible. If you'd set it at 61, I know that's just an example. These guys right here are seeing a 60-40-40, I think was the split. It would have been right around that limit. Set it low. I'm encouraging you tonight to come out of this with ink on paper. Do this. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can fine tune it over time. There's going to be some loopholes that are found. I think Mr. Easter said he had some other stuff coming up in future months. I know there's concern around some of the municipalities that wouldn't fall into this necessarily, some of the development of Bermuda Run that we're seeing. I'd encourage you guys to try to find some ways to add on environmental, traffic, other concerns to those, even though those aren't directly related to zoning. Some of the stuff has already been discussed tonight around water runoff, traffic, et cetera. I know we've had a pattern. I presented in other cases here to this board concerns around water runoff and traffic and other development opportunities. And maybe that's another opportunity you can add to this zoning text to be a little bit more cumbersome for those developers doing that. I know you guys said you can't impose a moratorium, but if you've got the backbone to stick with, impose some really strict rules and stick with it, that's the effective outcome, and that's what citizens of Davie want. And we'll make sure as a whole, we'll keep electing board members after you're gone, Mr. Jones, to that are going to feel the same way about that. So please take action tonight. It doesn't have to be perfect, but please act.
Anyone else wish to come forward and speak either for or against?
Kevin Boger, I'm back. Sitting there listening, and I'm hearing a lot of things that I like. So you asked the question for or against. I'm for you guys getting some power to be able to stop some of these things. And so I haven't heard anything in any of those proposals that Mr. Easter was asking that would be concerning. And it looks like it protects property rights of families to be able to do the things that they want to do as far as within their family. But again, whatever you can do to not encourage these folks coming into the county and doing what's being done and has been done for years, I definitely am for that. So I just want to get back up here and say thank you. I want to sit back here and clap in my chair, but I can say that now since you give me the opportunity. Thank you. Please do all you can do. Do all you can do for us now and our kids later, that they have a community of rural that they can be proud of, just like I am. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hello guys, Jennifer Boger. I too want to stand here and say I support this 100%. I hate it didn't happen several months ago to help me out, but if I can fight and help another neighborhood out, I'm willing to do that, and for the future of my kids. And two, I support it because when I do make all those phone calls and everybody tells me, talk to your county commissioners, talk to your county commissioners, this actually gives you the ability to do something. Because I understand right now you don't have that ability. Your hands are tied and you have to follow the laws. Just like Mr. Easter said, what is it? It's right, land by right or whatever is what we've heard a dozen times. But unfortunately, us as neighbors, we don't have that right. Because when we get runoff or we get septic issues or well issues or we have problems, we don't have any rights. We're just stuck with it. But I do like this plan. I do think y'all need more control to be able to speak up for the citizens of Davie County. And so I just want to tell you I support this, and I'll continue to vote for ones that are for Davie County and to keep our county rule and make it a place that my kids can grow up and love just like myself. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Board, Madam Chairman, thank you. I feel like I've got something accomplished. The county has done something for us. I hope you said it lower than 3, though. And a clause in there where they can't run around back and do this again. But I appreciate y'all doing this, and I vote for it. So. We'll vote for y'all.
Anyone else? Madam Chair, seeing no one come forward, I would now turn public comment section back over to you to close the public comment section and proceed with whatever action the board wishes to take with regards to this matter.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vogler. I'll need a motion to close public comment.
So moved. We tired.
We good.
I think it was 1 and 2.
Jinx on
Okay.
you.
Let him go.
All in favor? All right, thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
I have a question about, we're talking about this is going to be a temporary thing. So talk to me about temporary. So we're going to pick a number for the lots here shortly. We're going to agree on that, vote on that. So 2 months from now, we've revisited these ordinances, we've tweaked them, we've did whatever we can do, including the addendum, I guess, where we can't have, if we go with 10 lots and somebody wants 100 lots, we can't have 10 subdivisions presented.
Correct.
All right, I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but I like that. But again, how do you have a time frame here?
I guess the time frame is going to be dependent on this board. We see how it goes. If we feel that, in my opinion, if we feel and we're getting kind of feedback that, okay, that number is good, right? And whatever that number is, we set the number, if that number is good or if that number needs to be increased, if that number needs to be lowered, we can always revisit that. We can always look and say, well, at this point in time, we don't think the approval process is. Those 2 meetings are not that. At any point in time, we can go back and tweak and change whatever that we implement through the approval process with that. So, Commissioner Rigger, to put a specific time frame on that, what that is, I don't know. I don't want to sit up here and say that's 2 months, 3 months, or 6 months. But I think with what we've seen and what we've done initially was some of the started when we did the 150 foot wide lots, and then we did the class stuff. I think it's going to be morphing. I think we always need to lead from ahead. I don't think we become complacent in growth and development here and what we're doing in Davie County. I think we need to address things as we go. Is this going to be right in 5 years, 10 years? It might very well be. This might be the best need for Davie County. But I think also with this board and then with the passion of what we see with the community as a whole, this is going to be morphing and changing constantly. So I think that we need to do as this board, and it's one thing I think it's lost in the sauce, and this is me during public comment, but I think this board does not get near, the planning board does not get near enough credit for how much they have done and to address some of these subdivision problems and some of these issues that are arising throughout the county. And I think both boards need to be commended for this. But to answer your question, I don't know. Next time I'm going to get with this, I've already the planning board to address, dividing those and doing that. That's definitely going to be coming to this board next time if we can get something pen to paper, which we will. But anything else associated with this, I think we just see how it goes. I mean, if we feel that we, whatever that number is, if we're being bombarded with things that really just are no impact, well then maybe we need to increase the number. Or we feel like the ones that we are seeing, whatever that number might very well be, is some of it increase, maybe we decrease the number. So it's just going to be all dependent. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's just being completely honest with you and just telling you what I think.
And realistically, even though Johnny's been working on this quite a bit here recently, he's probably still got some more things to do, and it could be a couple of months before he gets it to the planning board, and the planning board then submits it to you. And also it could be 60 days, it could be 90 days, but don't want to rush it. We want to get it right, by the same token, we're working on it pretty hard.
Well, everything I hear keeps saying that this is not where we want to end up,
Yeah.
but for right now, we probably need to look at about everything because we don't want this unintended consequence of 10 house subdivisions or 6 20-house subdivision or whatever. So, I mean, until we can get that part hammered out, I think it's, incumbent upon us to probably look at everything, but that's not where we need to end up.
Right.
We don't need to end up to where people are so restricted, but I don't know any other way to do it. Because right now, Johnny, what have we got? I mean, hadn't we got probably between the municipalities and the county right now, probably 1,000, 1,200 lots permitted?
Probably more than that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, when you have this discussion, it's kind of what I talked to the planning board about the other day, is that some of what we're having to do here is reactionary to we've already got. We've got enough lots permitted right now to probably increase the population by 3,000 or 4,000 people, if not more. So there's a reason for us to want to react. There's also a second reason as county we need to react because a lot of these are permitted within the context of the municipality. And I go back to we can't tell them what to do. And I'm not saying we should be able to tell them what to do, but I do know as we plan and we set property tax rates and all these other things that we do have to provide the lion's share of the services that the municipality brings when development happens. So EMS, sheriff, whatever. But the one thing I'm really interested in adding the component, and I've done a little research, but it's kind of like just enough to make me dangerous. What Mr. Vaughn has brought up is very intriguing to me because I know there's some places that have the technical review component. Maybe I'm not calling it the right thing, but maybe a more preemptive, proactive thing about the planning board or whoever to address the ordinance about stormwater and all that up front, because we can see we're all throwing our hands up in the air about DEQ. It's kind of, DEQ's kind of reactionary. It's not proactive. So those are some of the charges I want to keep throwing out there to the planning board and everybody else. We need to come up with some teeth if appropriate. There's other counties doing some stuff. Maybe we need to reach out to them. I know Harnett County's got 10,000 lots permitted right now, and they're having to do kind of a pump the brakes because 10,000 lots, you can only imagine what that's doing to their population. So anyway, that's all really I'll say about it at this point.
I would like to say to the planning board members that are here, even though we don't want this to go on forever, we don't want you all to feel like you got to hurry up and do it either, because we want to do it right. So just I don't want y'all to think, well, we need to do this in 60 days because that's what they want. No, we want it. We want to put this high on the priority level and make sure we get some good things accomplished here. So, anyone else?
I will say real quick, anything we do, we'll have to go through the process of advertising it, go through the planning board. We'll have to come back to here. So that generally takes about a month. So even if we had a finished product ready to go today, that's how long it typically will take us to go through all the proper steps.
And something else that we need to be aware of as a board too is that for every regulation that we make up here, we have some developers are usually very intelligent people, and they have very expensive, intelligent lawyers as well. Anything that we do is probably going to have to be redone, revisited in months to come, just to make sure that nobody can skirt around what we're doing.
That's right. Absolutely. Okay. Wishes of the board?
I'm gonna make a motion to limit the number of lots to 10. I think the effect of that is to chill development satisfactorily, and I will make that motion as the threshold.
Are you going to add anything with regards to his second point? Or are you going to vote on those separately?
Thought we would take those separate, but
Yeah, we
whatever the chair, Madam Chair wishes to do there.
Okay, so we have a motion that we would, any subdivision 10 or more would come before us. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor that the number of 10 lots or more would come before us? And,
Hold
okay.
on a second, Madam Chairman. Are there any, any discussion on that? Are we good?
Sure, go ahead.
I know Brent had mentioned 3. I think Benita had basically talked about 0, I think, for the most part. In effect,
I'm at least temporarily of the opinion that we look at everything. My first instinct would be to go with what Terry's saying, but I don't want a piece of property with 5, 10 subdivision at this point if that's a way somebody could circumvent it. So,
and the reason, Terry, I say we could do that is because we are addressing, I call it the mom and pop, I call it the family. We are addressing that in the whatever it might be.
Yeah, we're currently
7,
addressing
5, 8.
Well, no, those are family. Now, when I say mom and pop, and I'm going to clarify those. Okay, so if you have individual parent that is willing and deeding property to children and grandchildren, that is exempt.
That's
That is
what
exempt.
I mean.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what
So-
I call it.
Okay. So just to clarify, but if you have that individual person that wants to make 5 lots and sell them, that's not exempt. That would be considered a major subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay.
well,
All right.
yeah.
Just want to clarify.
So for that reason, I mean, I could go with a minimal number of 3 or 0 because I think we're taking care of the 10. We're taking care of the family scenario. So.
And I just want to clarify real quick, just for the general public. 3 is essentially 0. Because 3 is what makes it a major subdivision.
Correct.
So the lowest number you could go possibly would have to be 3.
Yeah.
So I just don't want anybody to walk out here and think that you left off 1 and 2.
B3.
I just come at it from 10 from a practical standpoint. I don't think anybody's going to bring 10 lots. So I think, but at least that is a greater number than 3, obviously. So.
Okay. So the vote is 10 or more would come before us. That's what's on the table right now. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that passes 3-2. So, and then we'll address action item 2. Subdivision approval process. Now, what all do you need? The number of meetings and you need that radius and everything tonight?
Yes. That's what I'm asking.
Okay. So radius and number of meetings.
So, Madam Chair, can I clarify something
Yes,
before we
please.
get to that? So, these are going to be addressed in 3 individual parts. So now that we've got the definition in 154, I'm asking for a motion in 155, 125 in the table of uses to require 10 or lots, 10 lots or more to be included in the table of uses in the special purpose zoning district. Apologize for that. That's just
okay.
procedural.
So these are the 3 specific items that you need us to give you answers on tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
Do we need 155.125 separate from 155.151.
Yes.
You do.
You gotta do them all separate.
So your first point of business should be to either approve or not approve 10 or more lots being put into the table of uses
Okay.
In the special purpose zoning
in the
district.
special purpose zoning district. That's correct.
I make that motion to add 10 lots or more into the special purpose district. Thank you.
In the table of use.
Table of uses, yes.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second that the new definition in the special purpose will be 10 or more lots. All right? You got any discussion?
We just voted, okay? We just voted on the definition, okay?
Right.
I would say, I would ask Ms. Finney and Mr. Shove, so that we can come out of this with a unified vote. What would be a number? Because Terry, I got to be honest with you. 10 is, you know, what would be a number that we could come out of here with a unified vote supporting the community?
My number would be 3 because that's
my
our
thought is-
subdivision number.
I'm happy with 10 or 20 or 25 after we get all the stuff hammered
Right,
out.
right. After
So you good with 3?
3 tonight.
Terry, could we, I know we voted a minute ago, but you know, 3, 10, let's,
I take your point. There's not a
Yeah.
big difference.
Yeah.
Or, well, there's probably no difference from a developer standpoint. So,
There is from ours.
okay, so
would you amend to 3?
for the good of the order, I will amend my, I don't know how we do this legally.
Well, I mean,
Ed,
You'll-
how we word it?
You're working.
Okay,
You're doing it.
I would.
You withdraw. You withdraw, and
I
then
would withdraw my motion that passed to make the definition 10 or more lots to be 3 or less.
under Robert's rules, you can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Okay.
And for the sake of unifying the board, I would second that motion,
Can we have a
amended
Thank you,
motion.
guys.
brief discussion on this?
Sure.
Make it real clear, because I don't want anybody to leave out of here with heartburn thinking it's gonna stay, it's gonna change. We can't be tasked with every single subdivision coming to us. I'm just suggesting we be tasked with that till we get the language hammered out. That's the point of this.
While we're working.
Thank you, Terry.
So, new motion,
You got a motion and a
amended
second.
motion.
So anything 3.
3 or more.
comes to-
All major subdivisions. In essence, what we're doing, because major subdivisions is currently defined, so all major subdivisions.
Just for clarification, because Terry actually said 3 or less, but he meant 3 or more, correct? 3 or more. Okay. All right. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of the definition being 3 lots or more to come before us? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. All right.
And Madam Chairman, I want to say one thing about these units, though. I just, your report, Brian, includes a development services ongoing development overview, okay? Now, I didn't go down here and list all of the units that are out there, but I want everyone to know, to be vigilant about this. Whatever the total number of units are here, I don't have, but I can tell you 1,139 of those units are in the municipalities that we have no control over, okay? So be aware of it. Be aware of it. 1,139 units that we have zero control over, I think that's an interesting, I think that's a thing that folks need to understand, that some of this is outside of our purview.
Yeah, I want to say something to piggyback on what Mark said. I've already talked about that some, not as specifically as he did, but you got to keep that in mind, that we get beat up a lot about what's happening. We're not saying anything negative about the municipalities. We're just saying it's factual. It's a numerical number. It's out there. And that's part of why we've got to, as I said a while ago, react to what goes on in the municipality when we make our decisions about what goes on in the actual county or outside of the ETJs. So it was a point very well made, but we can't do anything about it.
Well, and historically, that's where density occurs.
Right.
Is inside the municipality, so that's.
Any other discussion on that? Okay, our second area here, the table of use districts.
You just need to adopt that definition into the table of uses under the special permit.
Special purpose
Section.
zoning district, correct.
That we just discussed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I'd make that motion.
thank you, Richard. Richard makes the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mark. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you.
So the last one, Madam Chair, is the verbiage about what is currently in the ordinance under the special purpose district. Now that we have all major subdivisions, all subdivisions will be, the only permitted use area would be in a special purpose and the process of getting the approval. So that's where we're at with that now. So with that, as we say, and this is what is currently the verbiage, but kind of what we want to do is add the verbiage just specific for major subdivisions. Because Class 5 is out of there, so major subdivisions, what that approval process is. And also with that being said, with in what we've done is proposed dimensional requirements except for major subdivisions, and then access except for major subdivisions, because a lot of this references our solar farms that we have here. So what we're looking to do is the approval process of how, pretty much in essence, what we're looking at is to kind of tweak what is required for the community meeting and how to let the surrounding property owners know. So that's what I'm asking this board to act upon currently.
So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have community meetings for all major subdivisions.
Correct.
Not just say class 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, but for all major subdivisions, because you've already defined
Just
what a major
everything.
subdivision is. And you need to decide 30 days, 60 days, what your time period is there, and then you're going to need to decide on
Radius.
the number of people that you're planning on reaching out to. You're going to do 500 feet, 750 feet, 10 feet, whatever.
And keep in mind, I want to stress this, just a clarification. This is what the developer is doing. This
Right.
is not what Davie County does. The developer has to do that. So normally what we do in the past, when we've had a couple of the developers reach out to us and want to do a community meeting, they'll work with us. We'll generate the mailing list based upon our current GIS that shows a map. So we can add individual layers. We can create the mailing list and provide it to the prospective developer, 500 foot, 750 foot, whatever that is, and it's of the taxable property owners, the current taxable property owners at that time, okay?
So just for clarity, I would like to ask you, this does not specify what you're saying, the two community meetings. Are you saying between, one of them are between the planning board and the commissioner board,
No.
or both before?
Both of those, I've got them both before the
Okay,
planning board
which is
meeting.
what we wanted.
And this is my opinion, okay? I think more would be doing to have the developer, I think it's more important for the developer, this is my personal opinion, based upon history of what we've seen in here, I think it's more important for the developer to have more contact with those prospective property owners to come up with something that they feel before they present it to the planning board, okay? And then once we go to the planning board, based upon some of the examples and some of the feedback that they've obtained from the surrounding property owners, the planning board will make that decision, and ultimately we go to the commissioners' meeting.
So, and my other question is, and just really just for you all to think about, I guess. Do we want to say that those community meetings, one has to be in the morning and one has to be in the evening? Do we want to leave that to the discretion of the developer? We can tweak that later, of course, but for tonight, do we want to do any specific?
So I just want to address that. So we kind of had some discussion with that. So keep in mind, if the developer has the meeting, we have to know when the meeting was. So if the developer, for example, decides to hold the meeting at 8 a.m. on a Monday morning, on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, whatever, that is something that this board and the planning board can take in consideration how well they did. You know, did they make the conscious effort to do that? If we limit it to this time or that time, what is that time going to do? But those are when they submit this to us as a part of the approval process, we're going to know what time they had the meeting. We're going to know when they had, who contacted, who showed up. Did they have it 3 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday or whatever, or during the national championship of March Madness, for that matter. But we're going to know when that is something to take consideration. It just gives the onus on the developer to be able to put it in times.
Well, I understand we're going to know, but my question to the board is, do they want to just leave it at that, or do they want to specify those times? So, and then the radius, those are the details.
Question, do you have to approve the times?
No.
No.
Okay.
So that's why.
Do you review the times prior to them being sent out?
No.
They can do what they want to. So if we don't specify, they can do what they want to.
I don't necessarily want to micromanage, but I think there has to be some common sense in this. They don't need to be having meetings on Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Correct.
They need to be as accessible, and I don't know if you word it this way, there is accessible to the community that surrounds the development. However it might word, I don't think we need to say they need to be at 2 o'clock
and that's one thing that I didn't want to do that.
Reasonably accessible hours or something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that, because
Yeah, and you could say one daytime meeting and one evening meeting.
Yeah.
yeah.
Could we give a range of time, like 2 to 7, something like that?
We can.
I'm just throwing that out there.
From what I found with some of the community meetings we have, it's more of an open house. The developer will be there, and it's allocated at the local library, Rueton Club, whatever, and it's 6 to 8. That's I've went to participate in a few community meetings around here. When we show up, it's more of an open house setting. But then again, whatever this board sees fit, we'll be more than happy to include it in the requirements.
Anyone?
The 500 feet radius, I just keep in my mind thinking about a country mile. 500 feet's not
It's short.
So if you had a rectangular piece of property, would it be 500 feet from the edge of the property? Or
Yes, sir. So when we do these mailers, so if you take a 300-foot, let's say we take for example, we have a 100-acre property. The farthest point from every bit of that property, no matter how it's arranged, you go 500 foot out from the farthest properties. And we do that, and we've done the past where we've done mailers with connecting property owners. You might have 7. You do a 500-foot radius, we've done 50. We've had as many we've had to mail out over 100 individual mailers to notify people in a 500-foot radius. So when you really look at that, it's not the center of the property, it's every far reach of the property, that 500-foot radius. So it's a substantial people. It grabs a lot of people.
500 feet from the boundary line.
Yes.
Kind of depending on where it is, whether that's effective or not, and those are items that we can tweak as we proceed, but we need to come to some type of decision tonight for this meeting.
I would also like to point out that a lot of times you have developments, one on the western side of the county being one of them, where they have runoff that affects people farther than 500 feet away from the property.
Absolutely.
So something we can keep in mind to adjust later maybe.
But y'all did say that the one thing that could save some of that is the zoning signage.
Well, okay, so currently, the community meetings, we currently do not have there where they have to post the property, right? We're statutorily required to post the property, and there's a requirement of how many days out prior to posting the property. We're only required to post it for the commissioners' meeting. We're not required to post property for planning board meetings. We do. We put that great big sign that's got both dates. We want everybody to know when the planning board meeting is being held and when the commissioners' meeting it will be here. So we post a sign for both of them. There's statutory requirements. It's 10 to 21 days and when the mailer's out, but that's all included in the general statutes. And that's something if we choose to do this too. I mean, at some point, if you wanted to say that the applicant needs to post the property, put a sign, and you know, however you want to do it to notify the public. Just based upon what I've seen and what I've felt around here, once we send some mailers out, and once the developer sends mailers out, it's going to get out on social media and it's going to be out. At that time also, more than likely, we'll probably post it. I don't know, that's something we'll discuss with Ed and this, is that something that we're going to also post on our county website to let people know that this is here? I don't know that that's something we do. It's a community meeting. It affects the community as well. So those are something to say. I think with what we've seen thus far, with the passion and being with the planning board, people are going to know.
They are, but we certainly need to do everything in our power to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So. Anyone?
For a motion.
I'm looking for something. Are we good with what's here, or do we want to tweak it a little bit now, or do we want to tweak it a little bit later?
I'm good with this. Even in terms of the meetings, I think that could be something if we feel like that there's some unreasonableness in terms of times and
absolutely
days, we can come back in and tweak that. You know, I know we've had a lot of public meetings on Saturdays, you know, which is really a great time for folks to be able to come out. So I would make a motion that that we approve this as proposed. And obviously we can come back and tweak it if we need to.
And that's with amending it to say community meetings for all major subdivisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not class 5. Yeah, that was placeholder again.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
placeholder. Yes. Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion from Mark, second from Brent. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, guys. I really do appreciate your patience with this. This gives, and thank you guys for all your hard work. Thank
We
you.
appreciate your patience as well.
Mr. Easter, can I ask one question in terms of the Lake Myers thing, as it is proposed right now? Do we have, would those site plans be brought to us for approval?
Yes, they will. So as a part of the subdivision, they will be, so if they're installed as proposed, so there is, let's see, there is a class 3 subdivision, and it does, if you look at it, it does require design approval, okay? That is, but if they meet all the conditions and they're not asking for any kind of waivers or any kind of design differences, if they meet all the requirements, then it's just a procedural, just approval from this. So there's no board action. As long as they meet all the requirements as set forth in the class subdivisions, then it's just an administrative review.
So we don't have to vote on the site
No,
plan?
you do not. You do not.
For the people that are out here though, and when he brings it to you, if they meet all those requirements, then you don't have to do anything, but you can't deny, you can't tell them they can't build at that point in time.
The only thing you would approve, is the final site plan after the technical review and any changes that have to be made from the TRC. That locks in the site plan so that when they get ready to do the work, they cannot change that plan in any manner without bringing it back to you.
So they're bringing that final site plan, and we have to raise our hand to approve it.
According to the ordinance as it sat before tonight.
All right. So we have to raise our hand to approve it. And nobody's going to come in here and tell us, well, you have to vote yes.
Well, we're going to treat it, we had the one initially, last time I think we did the one that we did just the approval. It was from, it was basically, it was in a consent agenda item.
And it was a mistake.
Well,
on our part for allowing that to come through the consent agenda, and it's the same developer. And so, the question was, does it have to come back to us?
it does.
for a
They will.
vote?
All three
Okay.
of them will have to come through the planning board for approval. And then if all of the conditions are met, then it's.
So they're Plan B.
What we've done tonight starts tonight and goes forward.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just to clarify, but just so we know, with what Commissioner Jones is asking, so it comes back to us to approve, but we can't really not approve it?
You're locking in the site plan.
You're approving the site plan. In essence, as we said before, it's permitted by right under the existing what it was submitted and approved through. It's permitted by right. So as long as they meet all the specific requirements for whatever that class subdivision is, and they're not asking for any design waivers, i.e. last time they brought it to us, if they would have installed curb and gutter, it would have been approved, permitted by right. We would have submitted the site plan and looked at it, but since they decided to waiver, wanted some design waiver requirements, but if they meet all the specific requirements, it's deemed permitted by right, and we would just lock in and approve the specific site plan.
So,
It's on 61 or more.
right, but
61 and 40.
so can we, but what teeth, I guess what I'm asking is, it's permitted by right and all that, but what in effect can we actually do to say, we don't like this site plan, or we want this site plan tweaked, or whatever? Or are we just rubber stamping it, or what? I just want to kind of know. I don't want anybody leaving here and phones light up saying, well, look, you can deny it now, but I want some clarity to it.
In essence, as long as they meet all the conditions of when it was submitted by the ordinance, in essence, the planning board as well as the Board of County Commissioners are just approving the specific site plan. It's permitted by right, so that they could put it in and install it as long as they're not asking for any design waivers based upon the requirements. So it is permitted by right, okay?
Can we, and I know we're chasing rabbits now, can we require a time frame on the development of these their Plan B, okay? So they knew we were not going to approve the waiver on the curb and guttering. So they went to a Plan B that brings them into smaller developments, okay? Gotcha. Okay? Now, when initially, I think when they may have met with some of us, they said they were going to phase that in. Can we require them to phase that in? In other words, they can hand us 3 different site plans that say we're going to put in 3 developments, and in the same time frame that they were going to build 160 houses, they build these 3 developments. Can we limit that?
I don't believe we can. Under current ordinance, we can't do that. No.
I don't think we can under our current ordinance, nor do I think that with some of the laws that's been passed down in Raleigh, we'd be able to do it even.
Okay.
I just want to clarify, but right now, the developer actually has 4 site plans before you.
Correct. So in conversations I've had with the developer of the 161 lot, since it's deferred,
There.
it's still there. So he's submitted, so in subsequent conversations with him, he's not officially withdrawn it. If this board feels like, based upon those three or the 161, you know, if they're willing to, whatever this board decides in conversations with the developer, I mean, it's an option. He's not pulled them officially, if you will. So yeah, they're currently, Commissioner Ringer, they're currently still on the table.
It's pretty clear about, I thought I was clear on that. I just, for the good of the order, wanted to verbalize that.
So, just for clarification, because this crazy thought comes in my mind sometime, well, if he didn't pull it and we deferred it, why wasn't it on our agenda?
Simply putting the agenda together and having conversations with you all, it did not seem like the request that he asked for on the curb and gutter seemed like it was something that needed to be on the agenda. You could, by a motion of your own self tonight, have that discussion in new business or old business. I mean, ultimately, you do have 4 subdivisions that are out there submitted. If that's something that you want to take up in conversation with the curb and gutter, or continue that conversation, or I guess is probably a better way of putting it, you could.
So we're kind of giving them a gift by just letting them have everything open. So, okay. Anything further on this particular item? All right, we'll move on to the county manager's report. Mr. Barnett?
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. County does this business other than subdivisions. On the consent agenda tonight, you have the previous minutes from some of our other meetings that we've had in January. You have on the consent agenda tonight the bad debt write-off. Every February, we do bring to you the debt that has existed for more than a year, getting your permission to write it off. You have 4 budget transfers and amendments tonight, one involving senior services, installing cameras, the facility. We have to, anytime we have new revenue that comes in, we have to accept that. So that's what we're doing with the auto insurance and the Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then we're also increasing the SHIP grant that goes through senior services. You also have a resolution tonight to award a resolution to negotiate and execute a contract with the lowest bidder for the Health and Human Services former building. We are looking to demo that former building that used to house social services and public health. And then the last 2 items that you have are procedural. You have to advertise the unpaid 2025 tax liens through the tax office, and we have to authorize to proceed with enforced collections of any unpaid 2025 taxes as well. So both of those typically we do in February to allow us to finish out the tax collection process for this year. So those are the main items outside of the monthly proclamations and board appointments that you have on the consent agenda. Okay. As part of my report, first of all, I think as Commissioner Jones alluded to already tonight, you do have in front of you a copy of my monthly report for activities that took place in the month of December. So if you, in the coming days, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those. And main thing I want to talk about tonight, I think has been on everybody's agenda for the last 2 weeks, has been the winter weather. I want to take this opportunity tonight to ask our emergency management director to come up and just to help me out, just in case I'm missing anything. Want to say a couple of really big thanks. Want to start with some of our outside partners. Big thanks to the National Guard. They came in for the weather event. They helped us and assisted us with transporting quite a few of our staff to the shelter that we set up. They were extremely helpful in our processes. I reached out earlier this week to Clyde Scott. I want to thank our local DOT office. I think we have someone in here tonight as part of that group as well. I think not picking on our friends across the river, but if you went across the river and saw their roads compared to our roads, our DOT here in Davie County, and they put in a monumental effort to get us up and available to get out this last week. I want to also thank the town of Mocksville here in town for the efforts that they put on with their road crew. I want to thank Duke Energy for being available and keeping us in the loop during the storm. I believe we only had one outage here in Davie County during the ice event. I don't think we had any during the snow event, but Cameron may tell me different.
Just two.
Just two, okay, so I was off by one. Then with our own folks, I want to thank Cameron and the Fire Marshal's office, who serves as our emergency management personnel. They're the ones that do the overall coordination of all our different agencies. They're the ones that talk directly to the state during the event. One positive aspect of this winter weather event for a lot of our personnel, this was the first time that we've really enacted a large-scale emergency situation outside of COVID. So this was a really good test run for what our capabilities. I think we have a meeting tomorrow to talk about what we may need to improve upon, but emergency management opened the operations center over at EMS Station 1. They coordinated assets to help set up the shelter. They coordinated transportation of people during the event, so I want to thank them. I want to thank our staff at Health and Human Services. When we do have to go into shelter mode, they are the ones who are responsible. The folks at DSS and Public Health who have to be here during the event. We had 2 individuals that we had to take care of during the shelter. I'm happy that it was only 2. Having done full-fledged shelter modes during hurricanes, it is one of the toughest jobs out there, so we were prepared and ready to go. I want to thank General Services. They're our facilities folks here on the ground that they help with Cameron, they help with the shelter, and then they help to make sure all of our county facilities are up and running and we're able to get in the building without any accidents or situations. They also help move assets around to help us to get in. I want to thank our folks who, no matter what the weather event is, have to work. That would be our 911, Sheriff's Office, Detention Center, EMS, public utilities. You may not realize we still have a lot of work in public utilities that has to go on during these events. And I also want to reach out to our friends at our volunteer fire departments. They have to respond. We did have a couple, we still had our normal amount of calls that we get during this type of event, so all of those people were in place. I want to thank our support staff. You guys probably don't recognize and realize that our finance team has to set up accounts to help us if we have to be reimbursed. I know our clerk and our county attorney spent a lot of time working on the documentation just so that we would have a declaration in place during the event. So I know I'm missing somebody else, but finally, too, I want to thank the commissioners for giving us the support and flexibility during this event to handle the whatevers that come up and to so that we can do what we need to do. So we really appreciate that. And Cameron, did I miss anybody?
No, I don't think you missed anybody. I would just like to say and echo, Mr. Barnett and a couple things. We ran 13 total official missions with the National Guard and different agencies across the board. Things like that entail getting certain employees where they needed to be. I can't thank Suzanne enough for her partnership and everything. A lot of people think emergency management's the one, hey, we're going to set up the shelter and we're going to run it, but a large part of our EOP and everything in our planning, a lot of that falls on them, so I definitely wanted that to be noted. Going back to Mr. Barnett and the emergency declarations, thank you, Karen. Thank you to all of our municipals that jumped on board with us to make things very seamless. My staff, the Sheriff's Department had representation in the EOC. I was very thankful for Colt. Thank you, Jacobs, for sending him again, and a lot of the folks just behind the scenes. We did a lot of work. We moved a lot of things. We made a lot of things happen, and no one went without. There was a lot of speculation about our posture and what we were doing, and what I can tell everybody is that you guys helped us develop those plans, get those plans in place, and while that may not be something that's publicized in its entirety, I think that it was publicized in the right timing and the right manner to take care of the citizens of Davie County.
Thank you, Cameron.
And that's all I have.
I told Cameron coming up the steps, you know, a lot of the stuff they do, and I just thank you for the communication, you and Brian. But a lot of what you do, you don't know you need it till you need it. And I personally appreciate all of the frontline folks and all they did, but especially your communication with us, so we kind of knew exactly what was happening. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. And just one final thing. Mr. Burnett, I know I put it in an email. Most of you got that, but thank you for your support and supporting me. Not all this falls on my shoulders. It's definitely a we thing and not a me thing. So just wanted to publicly put that out there. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, Brian, I had one question in terms of the overall report. 3 weeks ago, I had asked for data on fourth quarter spending. And I think I'd asked for it over the last 5 years. I still don't have that information.
It's something that we're still in the process of working on, and not being in the office as much during the last 2 weeks has kind of put a slow on that, but we should have it to you pretty soon.
Anyone else have anything in regards to the county manager's report? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. If there's no questions about that.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Richard. Motion.
I second.
Second by Mark. All those in favor? And unanimous. Thank you. All right, our next item is old business, and we have moved the resolution to approve the Lake Louise contract and authorize the county manager to execute to this item. And I would like to ask Paul Moore if he would come forward. He is going to give us a little bit more explanation on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to use brevity for the rest of the night.
Thank you, sir.
Real quick, this resolution is to allow our county manager to negotiate for a contract. What will happen here with our site plan is as soon as our selected firm is on board, we will move to look as a change request for part of. Part of that change request involves an easement for Lake Louise, in which we have got state approval in writing. And we will look to remove a section of the site plan, which is gray matter, i.e. a new entry and parking lot. We will then look at the future items, which in the site plan are orange. How will those be replaced? Once those are replaced, we then form a budget that coincides with the monies we have put forth toward the old parking lot. Then we will come before you as a board to approve before we send it to the state for approval. We'll send it back to you and say, hey, here are the new changes. Here's what we're going to add. Get your guys' approval on it. So that way when it goes to the state, it's a slam dunk for the authority to be able to approve. I will say this, anytime there's an opportunity to remove gray matter from a site plan in place of quality of life recreational amenities, they look at that very favorably every time. So, that's it.
So I had asked Paul to give us this explanation because we had not actually seen a final map because the map's still going to undergo some changes. So, and he has assured me that the map coming back to us will be a part of this process.
Yeah, it's only fitting, just for again for the authority to know that they've got the blessing of our board on the approved change. It makes their job easier.
Okay. Anyone have anything for Paul? Okay, then I'll be looking for a motion to approve this or disapprove, whichever's your wish.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Jones.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schoaf. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you clarifying that. All right, do we have any new business that anyone would like to bring forth tonight? All right, we'll move forward with commissioners' comments. Richard?
I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out tonight and expressing your views to us. That helps us to represent the people out here a whole lot better, especially in difficult times. Anyway, thank everybody that had to do with the county helping us get through the last couple weeks of weather, and hope to see you back here next month.
Thank you, Richard.
And don't forget your sweetie on Valentine's Day.
Terry, you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. I appreciate everyone coming out. The weather events of the last 10 days, I've concluded that the science of global warming is far from complete. So anyway, but all the people that Mr. Burnett mentioned as far as during the weather event, I echo that. Thank you very much. You don't realize what all was involved with that, and they did a great job. And anyway, appreciate you being here, and come back next month. Thank you.
I'm glad you're all warm and safe. I appreciate all those that worked on the front lines to keep us all warm and safe. I'm ready for some baseball weather. I got to tell you, I am ready. But thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know sometimes this gets tedious, but sometimes it needs to get tedious. We've got to. Some might call it micromanaging, but if we don't do something to slow this down, Benita used to use this term, or Brent, I can't remember who it was, the whole county is going to be under pavement. And we do not need that. We've got to be more methodical in how we address these things. So I appreciate y'all being patient with us, those watching online. And Madam Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Brent?
I'd like to thank everybody during the recent weather. Everybody's done such a great job. I just echo that. Appreciate the citizens for coming out. I appreciate the tedious root canal that we've just gone through, but sometimes, the end result is worth the root canal, so to speak. Thank you.
Well, I also thank you all for being here tonight and for sitting through this process. But I'm thankful that we have gotten through this process and we're making some headway, I feel like. And planning board members, thank you for being here and thank you for the work you're about to do. So we appreciate that. We have been through some crazy weather. We have been so fortunate here. I mean, our Davie County DOT has obviously rocked the region because after the ice storm, we had the best roads ever around, and I'm so thankful for them. And then luckily the snow faded quickly, and we were just left with a few remnants. I want to give a shout out to Cameron and everyone that was involved in setting up the EOC during the ice weekend. I went and visited the EOC before the storm came, and it was very impressive. They were so organized, and it was a huge team. There were people from so many departments working together to make that happen. And fortunately, we did not get what we could have gotten, but they were ready if we did. So we're very thankful for them. And some of you, Mr. Barnett mentioned the volunteer fire service. A lot of people don't realize how much we depend on them in those type of circumstances, because a lot of times we have EMS calls and our ambulances cannot get down people's driveways or can't get to certain areas. And our rescue squad and EMS personnel step up, and a lot of times they use their vehicles to get those patients to the ambulances and lots of things. It's a huge undertaking that most of us are not aware of, that all of our emergency service personnel undergo during those times. So I'm very thankful for that. Yesterday was read aloud in America Day, and I went and read at the library, and we had a great time, and the library staff did a wonderful job putting that event together. They're about as busy as our senior services staff. There's something going on there every single day, and they did a really great job yesterday. It was they had a lot of participation and a lot of guest readers. Paul was a reader and Cameron was a reader, so that was a lot of fun. This morning, our law enforcement honor guard participated in a funeral service, and we're going to get a little sneak peek of them in the coming months. But we have a group of law enforcement officers that have been training and working to honor those that they have served with or at special occasions, and they just did a remarkable job this morning. And I hope you get to see them at a happy time, but even if it's a sad time, I think you'll be very impressed with what they have done, and I appreciate the extra training that they've put in. I know a lot of people have been upset because their trash hadn't been picked up, and hopefully that's going to get back to normal. And want to give a special thanks to all the EMS and community paramedic people who have gotten our critical medical citizens to their appointments during this weather. And the last thing I will say is, don't forget, voting starts next week. So early voting starts next week. There's a candidate forum at the Senior Center next Thursday. And again, I just thank you, all of you who spoke at public comment and for the public hearing. Thank you for your passion, and thank you for trying to make a difference in your community. We appreciate you very much. If there's not anything else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Richard, there's a second.
I'll second.
Mark, all in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Be safe.